The internet is currently in an absolute uproar after Zara Larsson admitted to watching an AI-generated Fruit Love Island series on TikTok and at times using ChatGPT. Let's let that sink in for a minute. If you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, let me bring you up to speed real quick. Before I do that, I want to quickly give you the position I'm taking and the angle I'm coming at this with. I am a hobby artist. I make music, I'm a dancer. I think even this YouTube stuff that I have started doing, I love to create things. Additionally, however, my day job is in cybersecurity and I work with AI both from a productivity level, but also a regulatory perspective, as part of my job is helping other companies implement AI securely and ethically. Just to make sense of that, for example, if the company you work for wants to roll out Copilot for all of you guys to use, they sometimes bring someone like me in to make sure they do that safely, and you, for example, learn not to put in sensitive information into it just because it's now on your desktop. So I'm coming at it from both the creative aspect and the productivity aspect, if you will. Also, my position on AI is that I think for a lot of people, it's become almost inevitable to use. AI is being forced on a lot of employees. Expectations and workloads are increasing by the day and are at times becoming unmanageable without the use of AI for employees. And while I do think there are good use cases for AI, and I say that cautiously, I do believe that we would be better off without the use of AI. But in a world where AI is so present, there are some use cases that I guess I personally would classify as better than others. But we'll get back to all of that. Let's look into who Zara Larsson even is. If you don't know her, Zara Larsson isn't your typical media trained to death pop star. She's from Sweden and first kind of rose to fame by winning the Swedish version of Got Talent. In the documentary that came out alongside her new album, she talks a lot about how badly she's always wanted to be an artist. Any opportunity to be on the stage, she would take it. Small venues, big venues, shopping malls, you're gonna find Zara Larsson there, and you're gonna find videos scattered across the internet of her being there. She's had massive hits like Lush Life, which is currently kind of getting a second life as we all pander back to 2016 nostalgia. Never Forget You with Mnek. Symphony, with now also the Dolphin trend alongside that, which has been a huge part of this new resurgence, if you will, of Zara Larsson. I just wanna be part of your symphony. As I do think she's one of the few pop stars that successfully led into being a meme and made it part of her persona. I do think, by the way, I'm a big Zara Larsson fan, that her persona has always been like that. She's always been very colorful and fun and edgy like that. I don't think this is a change of persona, it's just a little bit more polished. And now, of course, her breakout hit Stateside alongside Pink Panther is. All the music aside for a minute though, as she's grown up, she's also become quite known for being very outspoken and relatable. Her TikToks have always been very funny and give her fans a fun insight into her day-to-day life. I personally feel like the documentary that I mentioned earlier also really did that. I feel like it gave us a real insight into who Zara Larsson really is and not kind of like a polished version of her. She seems very authentic in that. Either she just is really authentic or she's got a great PR team. Back to her outspoken views though, because I do think it's important to mention that in here, she has very firm views on reproductive rights and abortion, and she hasn't backed down even when things get messy. She's clearly and historically been willing to lose sponsorships and big money opportunities in the past if the brands that she's working with don't seem to align with her views. So she's recently come out and kind of mentioned that she's lost like a $3 million deal because of her outspokenness around abortion rights. The point is, Zara, I think, is someone who's proven she's willing to take like a financial hit to stand up for what she believes in. All that being said, I don't think Zara ever imagined that what she was saying was controversial when she reposted a AI-generated Fruit Love Island series on TikTok. The incident, if you will, started when she mentioned that she'd been watching a TikTok series called Fruit Love Island. And if you haven't seen it, it's a series of AI-generated videos and images of fruit edited into like the reality TV show Love Island as a parody. She reposted a video of it that came across her For You page and she thought it was funny. And these are videos that millions of people are watching, okay? I've seen a lot of people talk about this stuff. However, she started to receive some backlash after talking about it and after posting a video about it. And so she posted another video explaining her thoughts around it, what happened, and also her stance on AI. She basically mentioned that she thought the video was really funny and that she does occasionally use ChatGPT. And I feel like a lot of people are running with this and running with any TikToks that they're seeing about this without looking at what she actually said. So I'm just here to inform you on the words she actively used during this.
I don't use it for my art. I don't use it to create. I can see how it can be a tool for people to do that. I don't do it personally, but I do use ChatGPT. I'm sorry. And I Google shit. I Google shit sometimes because I'm curious. I don't really love the Google AI answers, but I use it, I think, in the future for environmental consciousness and for the way and the amounts of AI that we are using and will be using even more. I know it's just gonna be more environmentally friendly. It just has to be. It just has to use less water, less energy.
And I just think it's so important to just let that sink in for a minute, because she's actively stated here that she doesn't use AI for her art. And I think that's where a lot of people's issues come from. Not all of them, and we'll get into the other side of it as well. Don't worry, I don't want to kind of belittle people's thoughts about AI at all. There's a whole other aspect to it. But when we look at it from an artist's perspective, she's actively saying, I'm not using AI in my art. There are a lot of reasons why people feel touchy, if you will, about AI. And one of them is it actively taking away creative space from humans. But as I mentioned, I think from her statement, it's clear she doesn't use it for that. And I think there's a massive difference between an artist using AI as a toy or a utility for their creativity and an artist using AI to replace their own creative output or replace creative processes. And so here's the section where my professional opinion comes in. And it might be a hot take for some people, especially some of the people I work with, but I don't think we actually need AI. Even though my job does consist of helping companies implement AI, if you ask me, would the world be better off if we just got rid of the whole thing? My answer would probably be yes. A lot of the AI revolution, in my opinion, is just a way for corporations to demand more of their employees. It's marketed as an efficiency tool, but I've seen it often be used as an excuse to just increase workload because, you've got AI to help you now, so we can give you more to do. And it causes a lot of stress on people. I've actively talked about this at cybersecurity conferences. I feel really passionate about it. And so where I do think there is a space for AI, especially the way we're using it, in my opinion, is not really the way. And as I mentioned there, the stress impact and the mental health impact of it, we can actively see it, right? You've got people saying, I don't know what to do without ChatGPT. And I really, really encourage those people to dig a little bit deeper into that. We had an example at one of the companies I worked for where we just blanket banned ChatGPT use, which from a security perspective was the right thing to do. But a lot of people came to us and were like, how am I supposed to do my job? And initially the response kind of was like, oh my God, we shouldn't have banned it. We should unban it now. And I said, well, actually, we should have a conversation with these people because 2 years ago, you were able to do your job without ChatGPT. So either because of AI, you've stopped educating yourself on cybersecurity practices and processes, and so you're now struggling to do new workload because you're not as skilled, or you've taken on so much work, you've been given so much work that the workload is unmanageable without AI. And I think then that's an issue that, a business should address first. Anyway, you've got a bit of an idea of where I stand on it now, I think. I think we're in a dangerous cycle of constantly pushing productivity at the cost of human well-being. And I think this whole situation probably could have been prevented if we weren't so obsessed with automating every facet of life and being productive in every facet of life. It's, for me, quite similar to how people feel like they could technically monetize every aspect of their life. And so if they aren't, they're doing something wrong. You see people feeling at times almost forced that if they make TikToks to do it to a level where they can make money from it rather than just doing it because it's fun. And I think that's such a shame. But, and this is the important part, we don't live in that world. We live in a world where AI is already integrated into everything. If you're using Google search, you're interacting with Gemini. If you use the Spotify, the DJ, or Discover Weekly, it's an AI model. If you use Grammarly or even basic predictive text on your iPhone, you're using the same foundational tech that powers ChatGPT. Most of us use AI every day, whether we realize it or not. And so while I am critical of the productivity obsession, I find it a little bit hypocritical to single out Zara for using a tool that almost everyone mad at her is also using to some degree. We've integrated AI into our lives for convenience and security for quite a long time now. AI is also not a super new thing. Generative AI has really kind of come leaps, but AI has been around for a long time. In the tech world, we technically say that we use AI to automate the boring stuff so humans can focus on high-level problem solving, which I think does happen, but not as much as we all say it does. And so I think if Zara Larsson is using ChatGPT to help organize her thoughts or draft an email, she's just doing what every major tech firm is currently doing to stay efficient. As an artist though, I 100% agree with criticism regarding AI's impact on the soul of our creative work. Zara has been very clear. She's not using AI for her music or her art. And I think there's a massive difference between what she's doing, which is watching a parody of a talking pear, and where the industry, I think, is actually crossing dangerous boundaries. And so we have to talk about where AI stops being a collaborator of sorts and starts being a colonizer of human creativity. There are a few examples in recent pop culture where we've seen AI being used and we've seen a very negative response to that, starting of course with the Stranger Things writing room for the final season. In the One Last Adventure documentary, fans spotted what looked like a ChatGPT tab on the Duffer Brothers laptops while they were being filmed in the script writing room. And the backlash was huge because writing is like the heartbeat of a show and people already weren't really happy with the new season anyway. And so they were very quick to say, well, okay, this now all makes sense because it was written with AI and that's why it sucks. And so when we see creators using AI to potentially unblock a script, it feels like we're maybe losing the human struggle that makes a story resonate. I think it's very important to mention there that AI is actively built to be agreeable and to agree with you and make you happy and want to use it more. So if you're coming to it with a really shit idea for a script, it's probably going to be quite agreeable to those ideas, which is why AI can never replace a good script writing room. Then we of course also had the Scarlett Johansson OpenAI scandal where basically OpenAI released a voice called Sky that sounded a lot like Scarlett Johansson after she'd already told them no to licensing her voice for it. It was a super odd situation because a movie has actually come out quite a while ago that is about a man and I think like falling in love with a robot, and it has Scarlett Johansson's voice, so it felt eerily real. But this is a huge identity issue, right? This really feeds into the whole issue around AI being used to emulate people's voices and likeliness. It's identity theft, which is a regulatory issue that I work with a lot in my work with AI. Like for example, if a company is building a chatbot or an AI agent, we have to make sure that it does so ethically and that, for example, it can't read your emotions and use that knowledge to give a different type of response, right? That very quickly goes into manipulation. So there are guidelines in place for this, but of course we see companies like OpenAI just treading all over those guidelines. We had the Studio Ghibli fiasco where basically we saw the trend of people using AI to convert their images into the style of Studio Ghibli, which is a copyright issue and infringement on, personal art. And in my opinion, rightfully, we saw a lot of backlash here, right? At a certain point, you have to say like, where do we draw the line? And then of course we've got the entire deep fakes and consent aspect of AI as well. We've seen it in the Drake Tupac AI vocal clone situation and the rise of deep fakes in dance and music. Something that started with Will Smith eating spaghetti has just truly run a course. And that's where I think the boundary has kind of shattered. If the tech is taking control of your likeliness and your style without your input, it's no longer art, it's just data scraping. And I want to quickly touch on an example that I thought explained all of this so well when it comes to AI generated art. There was a book author who said that when he writes his books, he actively works with an illustrator and he tells the illustrator what the book is about. He tells him his view for what the accompanying illustrations should look like. And so the illustrator goes away and starts drawing those up, and then they might have a bit of a back and forth when they review them to get them to the final version so they can be put in the book. If we put this in AI context, one could argue that the writer prompted the illustrator to create these drawings. However, in this situation, the author would never claim rights over those illustrations, right? The illustrator would clearly be represented in the book as this is the person who made these illustrations, thank you so much, and would be paid for that job. So when people prompt AI and say, well, I am an artist because I prompted the AI to make this image, No, you're not. The AI made the image based on artwork from all these other people. If anything, you've upskilled yourself in being able to prompt AI well, which is a skill. People throw really shitty prompts in AI and hence overuse it massively. But that's not the same as being an artist. And so in my view, Zara Larsson isn't crossing any of the lines we've discussed. If anything, in my opinion, she's brought more attention to it by also talking about the environmental impact of AI. This is a part of the conversation that so often gets lost in the noise. And if you're unaware, there are massive data centers required to keep these AI models running. And global electricity demand for AI is actually projected to double by this year. And so to put it simply, a simple ChatGPT query can use 10 times more electricity than a standard Google search. And cooling those servers, because all of this generates a lot of heat, requires millions of liters of water, often from regions that are already struggling with drought. So while we're constantly pushed to use AI for productivity, we aren't always told about the carbon footprint of training those models, which can equal like a lifetime of emissions of multiple cars. So when people talk about the environmental impact, this is what they mean. There's the electricity part of keeping those servers running. There's the water element of cooling down those servers because it generates so much heat, right? Just like when your laptop's being used, you can feel it getting hot, which is why you have a fan in there. Because they have so much, they use really cold water. Now, some of these data centers are starting to recycle that water, but there's still just a huge issue with water consumption. And it's a really heavy price, I think, to pay for a tool that, as I mentioned, we don't even strictly need to function as a society. We've functioned very well as a society. We've made fantastic technical progress as a society. I don't think we need AI to help us continue to do that. And that's why I think it's so great that it was also touched on by Zara Larsson in her video. As far as I'm aware, Zara Larsson isn't replacing her vocalists with AI or using it to choreograph her tours. I'm assuming she's using it to handle live admin, for entertainment, and to answer those random questions that all of us get at 2 a.m. And just to be clear, it frustrates me too that I can't Google search anything anymore without Gemini just being present. It's the most clear example of AI being forced onto everyone. But so I don't think we should be mad at a pop star for using a chatbot. If anything, we should be mad at the systems that allow companies to steal an artist's identity for a voice model. I think let's kind of concentrate our energy there first. Also, I do think it's refreshing that she's honest about it. She could have immediately been like, I never use it, I don't use it, I'm a saint. But that's just not reality, is it? So where do I stand? I think we need to have a serious conversation about the productivity trap in workplaces and the ethics of AI in both high-level arts, but also from a security perspective. We should be pressuring lawmakers and big tech companies about data scraping and the replacement of human labor. And while we're seeing more regulatory laws come in, and I'm happy to do an entire video just from a cybersecurity perspective about AI if that interests you, there's still a long way to go. Attacking an individual artist for watching a viral meme that millions are watching or using a chatbot for administrative tasks just feels like misplaced energy. I'm not saying that we're not allowed to be critical and have the conversation, but I actually think someone like Zara is a type of artist that would be really open to having that conversation in a productive way. Zara has shown time and time again that she cares about people and she cares about her principles. And so I really think we should just focus on the corporations that are actively causing harm rather than gatekeeping what a pop star does on her phone during her downtime. All that being said, I'm really curious to hear from you. If you're an artist, where do you draw the line? Is it the vocal clones, or is it even small stuff like using ChatGPT, whether it's for an artistic process or for something completely different? And if you work in tech, do you agree with me that the productivity push is getting out of hand? How are you seeing AI being used more and more? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. I always read them. Thank you so much for watching another video. Thank you for being so engaged. Thank you just in general for the support and love I've been receiving on my channel. It's been a really interesting 3 months in this new year and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'll see you in the next one.